Welcome to today's presentation on improving the referral process. Thanks so much for taking some time this afternoon to learn a little bit about how we're able to help independent physicians such as you all on the line today with this kind of day-to-day pain that we hear across the board. My name is Katie Lashy, and I'll be taking you through the presentation. You've probably noticed that the phone lines have been muted as we're recording today's event, and we'll be sending that recording around to all registrants after the event, so you're free to share that with your team, and we'll send the slide deck as well. We will take questions at the end of today's presentation, so you're free to type and submit them along the way or at the end, and we'll get through as many as we can today. So I wanted to start by giving everyone a little bit of context about who Updox is, kind of what we are all about. We are a communications platform built by physicians for physicians. So Dr. Andy Barbash had an idea about 8 years ago now. He was frustrated by the communications tools available to independent physicians. The rest of the world moved into email and quick and easy communication, streamlined workflows. The medical world started to move towards digital charting as well. So while you did start to use computers, you weren't necessarily allowed to send PHI through email. So some of the efficiencies gained in the typical business market weren't available to physicians. So being frustrated by that, he approached Updox with a secure communications platform idea. Andy had this idea and he came to Updox, and what it started out as a way for integrated electronic faxing between provider to provider evolved into direct secure email provider to provider. We've been able to help a tremendous amount of EMRs service their physician customers by offering that direct secure email and secure messaging functionality. We've also kind of expanded into the patient engagement space with solutions like integrated appointment reminders, targeted notifications. So again, all from an idea from Dr. Barbash about streamlining some of the workflows that physicians face today. So since our start about 8 years ago, we have grown quite the network. We currently help more than 40,000 providers and 250,000 users. That certainly grows every day. We have more than 70 different EMR integrations, and through those integrations, we're able to help providers service more than 60 million patients, which accounts for 18% of the U.S. population. So definitely a far reach and a long way we've come in our 8 years. And what we strive to be for practices is a single source of contact for both patient and provider communication. So more specifically, what problems do we help independent physicians solve? The paperwork and faxing associated with a medical practice, specifically the referral piece of that we're going to talk to you today, is time-consuming and inefficient. You also spend a ton of time playing phone tag and leaving voicemails with patients. No-shows are frustrating and costly. You have concerns over patient loyalty year over year. Meaningful use and other government requirements are constantly coming at you and changing and requiring more of your time. We have a growing aging population, which also means a growing need of chronic care patients. As a business owner, independent physicians are constantly worried about remaining independent and financially viable, so the bottom line, more or less, and then building a trusted referral network. And these are some of the problems that Updox helps solve. As a partner, we're constantly challenging ourselves to align with our customers' primary goals, the first being the goal to improve the care provided to patients, but also the consideration for any business, large or small, is that with maintaining a budget and cutting unnecessary costs wherever possible. Technology is awesome and we can absolutely help streamline processes, but there's a threshold when you have your clinical charting or your EMR that you use, and then you have a need for reminders, and you have a need for fax, and maybe you're looking into RCM, and you might have a different partner for each of these solutions, which means you're maximizing and minimizing windows. You have several different partner relationships. You have a price point for each of those solutions. And when you get into a situation like that, you can actually head in the other direction, where rather than technology improving your workflow and simplifying your day, you're actually overcomplicating your day through those partnerships. So what Updox looks to do is help level that playing field, help your practice do more with less, and have a single point of contact for a few of those really important workflows that impact your practice. We kind of couple our solutions into patient engagement and practice optimization. And as a single partner, we're able to offer an application that's as easy as email and helps you work smarter. On the patient engagement side, some of the solutions that we assist with would be reminders, patient notifications, relationship development, and care management. On the optimization side, we help with digital referral processes and care coordination. So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Patient lab and prescription coordination, inter-office communication, remote clinic access, and just general HIPAA compliant communication, whether it's internal to your practice or external with your network. We do so through document management, so integrated digital faxing, which helps practices go paperless and improve their the efficiency across the board, and then messaging and reminders to reduce no-shows, increase revenue, and patient engagement. The place that we centralize these messages is our Updox inbox. So it's a web-based inbox. It's accessible anywhere with an internet connection, and it's intentionally designed to look a lot like an email inbox. So there's a very short learning curve on getting comfortable with the system and how to use it. We color code and clearly label the different types of messages that you receive to this inbox. You could even filter your view to only look at faxes or only look at messages from the reminders, or only look at uploaded files, or only look at outgoing faxes. So it's really easy to filter this as well. We also have the ability to auto sort based on fax numbers. So if you're a practice with multiple locations, you could actually have 3 different inboxes inside of Updox, contingent on the number that the fax came in through and the group of users that you want reviewing the faxes from that specific location. Once the messages get into the Updox inbox, managing them is super simple. So what we make it easy to do is review, split, and combine pages. Oftentimes when we're speaking with practices that have gone digital for faxing because referrals are a pain, they've gone with a fax server or a non-integrated solution, which does get away from the paper, but what it ends up doing is bringing everything into a folder or an email inbox that may or may not be HIPAA compliant. And then if you wanted to omit a cover sheet, or if you get a fax from a lab and there's 3 different patients involved, it's very difficult to break that fax apart page by page to send it to the different charts or to omit that cover sheet. So we make it super simple for you to review, split, combine pages as needed, so that you're not printing it off to paper and kind of reducing any efficiency you saw in the digital process. While it is in Updox, you're also able to edit. So that's another big Updox when it comes to managing documents. So if you need to put a signature on something, or type in a note, or date it, or fill out a form with checkboxes, we have a full-scale editor that lets you do that. We can pull in both PDF or TIFF options. Another value point for our workflows inside of the fax system is that you're able to fax and file at the same time. So if a document comes in from a lab or a referral source and you want to fax that document back to the referral source after you've seen that patient, but you also want to file the fact that you did that into the chart, you can send that back to the original referrer. You can file it into the patient's chart, and when the document gets to the patient's chart, a little note follows it that says, hey, when this was filed, it was also faxed to such and such number. So not only do you gain efficiency, and then that's all one step, but you also gain the audit trail as it follows it to the chart. We are server-based faxing as well. So if you are referring to a new physician and it's a patient history that's 100 to 200 pages, for instance, if someone were to fax you a document that size on a paper fax line, they would tie up your fax line for anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes probably. With Updox, we're server-based, so you can send and receive simultaneously without tying up the lines. So rather than thinking of like one road in, one road out, you would think of it like a fax comes in, it hits a room full of our servers and is delivered, and meanwhile, an outgoing fax is hitting the same room full of servers and going outbound without interfering with one another. So definitely an efficiency gained there over a paper-based world, or even if you have a fax server that only has one line available to it. Again, web-based, no hardware, software, or IT support required. We make it super simple to get started and even simpler to use. So let's dig a little deeper into the inbox and what this looks like. Initially, we had shown you kind of the collapsed view. So it's almost a summary view where it gives you a high level of the faxes that came in or the messages that came in, who they came from, when they came in. If you open the different panels, you'll see these thumbnail previews come up. So for each page that comes from a fax, you'll see a thumbnail preview, which is awesome because what you can do with your mouse is scroll over those thumbnail previews to kind of see what it is, determine your next steps. We have a really nice tagging system, so it's almost like digital foldering. So if Sam is the one who manages all of your referrals, for instance, you could look at that and be like, oh, this one's for Sam. Tag it for Sam and move on. And then when Sam gets into the inbox, they can take a look at all the documents that have been tagged for them and kind of carry out their workflow from there. As the documents get into the inbox as well, not only can you tag them, but you can also rename them. So if you wanted to add the patient's name or date of birth there, you can do that. You have a nice comment functionality so that if you have a referral that's come in and you're on the hook to call that patient and get them scheduled for an appointment, you can comment that you left them a voicemail on this date. And then when you type in that patient's name again, you can look and see that you left them a voicemail 2 days ago, maybe call them and leave them a voicemail again. So you have an audit trail of the contacts made against documents as well. All super easy workflows to walk through from this web-based inbox. Once you're ready to move forward with the document, you would break it apart page by page, edit or sign as needed, and as I mentioned, you can either send it into the chart or fax back out. And let's show you what that looks like. So here's a kind of a blown up view of what a document looks like inside of Updox. As you can see, the first page is a cover sheet, so I obviously don't want to send the cover sheet into the chart. So what I would do is check the boxes on the thumbnail previews of the pages I do want, and then hit the send item button. This is also super helpful for that lab situation that I mentioned, where they could send you results for 3 different patients, and you obviously don't want to send them to the wrong chart. You could just grab whatever pages are relevant to a certain patient, hit that send item button, hop back to the inbox, grab the next page, hit it, send that to that patient. So you can break apart a fax using this workflow as well, really, really simply. If there is a need to mark up a document, as I mentioned, you have a one-click signature available. You have the ability to type notes. You can time and date stamp. We have checkboxes for referrals or any paperwork that you might need filled out. Going back and forth, you have that. In addition to being able to kind of send and receive faxes with Updox, we also have a really cool drag and drop feature. So if you have a form that you're always sending out by fax and you're manually filling that out on paper, you can save a blank digital copy on your desktop, drag it into Updox, and send it out from there. It's a super simple workflow when it comes to paperwork, thanks to this digital editor. You also have a freehand drawing, you have an eraser, you have a highlighter. Again, we try to think about anything that you might need if you are marking up a paper copy of something and then build it into our workflow for you. Thanks to really close integrations with our partners, you're able to send directly into the patient's chart. And what we do in this screen is mimic the workflow when you're hitting the upload button inside of your EMR. So whatever fields you're used to sending. So if you're on an energy system, you're used to creating tasks or messages. If you're on an amazing charts system, you're used to creating inbox messages for the doctor. If you're in a practice fusion system, for instance, you're used to being able to task the provider in the sending screen. So all of those workflows that you're used to when you're on the upload screen inside of your EMR, we bake into this sending screen for you, again, to keep it as user-friendly as possible, and it's a really great value of our integration with our EMR partners. So for example, if you have a subject or a message line inside of that upload section, we would have the same thing here. We would have your document types or categories. We'd have your list of providers, and if you are the provider, the ability to sign off on something going to the chart. So just an example of some of the level of detail we go through with our integration. And if you do have time to spend 10 or 15 minutes with one of our product experts, they'd be happy to show you exactly what that means for whichever EMRs you're all running. Another really great feature of that sending screen is that the thumbnail previews that I mentioned earlier follow you to this screen, which is really powerful because if you find yourself faxing and filing 100 different things in a day, maybe you forget the patient's date of birth or the date of the lab draw that you're filing, you have the really easy ability to mouse over this document and remind yourself of those little details so that you don't have to back up and start over. I mentioned before that you're able to fax and file at the same time as well. So the search for additional contacts or users screen will show up anytime you're filing. And what that allows you to do is type in the name or someone in your contact Rolodex or the fax number of someone that you want to send something to. And while you're filing, or even if you're not filing and you just want to get a fax out the door, you can just type in that fax number or contact's name, and a little fax cover sheet like the one you're seeing here will pop up. A couple notes about our fax cover sheet. Out of the box, you do get one that says practice name, practice fax number, name and number of the place you're faxing to, and then you have the ability to have multiple ones for different locations or purposes. You also have the ability to have templates. So if you find yourself keying in the same message over and over again, you can actually create a template for that. So that when you're sending this out, by default, we have your out-of-the-box cover sheet that you've created, and then you can customize it on a one-off basis by typing in a subject line, choosing the appropriate cover sheet that you want to use, and then using a template. So if you're used to asking them to call you with questions, or if there's a specific number that you want them to call for the purpose of the fax that is going out, or a contact name that you want them to ask for, those would all be really great use cases for templates as you're sending that fax out. We do have proactive fax failed notifications and a comprehensive audit trail for successful faxes as well. So if a fax fails for whatever reason, rather than hanging out at that fax machine and waiting for that transmission report, we will proactively notify you with a fax failed message at the top of your inbox. It'll let you know why, it'll let you know when, and it'll give you your original attachment. So if you find that their fax line was busy because they're still on a paper fax, or their fax machine was offline because they have hardware that's malfunctioning, we would give you that level of detail and the original fax so that it's easy for you to do that again. The other workflow we hear about quite a bit is not so much the fax failure, but someone asking them to resend the fax. So for whatever reason, they misplaced the fax you sent, and they ask you to send that back over, or they say they didn't get it. You can actually go into the sent box, similar to email, and search by the contact that you sent it to or the number that you sent it to, and we'll pull up all of those faxes so that rather than redoing the work like you would in a paper-based world, you can just hit send again and push it along to that practice. So saving you from the redundant work that they want you to do. So those are some workflow kind of use cases when it comes to faxing, especially as it pertains to referrals. But I also wanted to talk a bit about the return on investment when it comes to going paperless. So when we ask practices, how much do you spend on faxing? Or how much do you fax? The universal answer is a lot, because in your minds you do fax a lot. It is a big part of your day. It's a painful part of your day. But when you really start to put the dollars behind that and you think about an $80 toner cartridge, a case of paper, $20 to $30 for a fax line, the hours that your staff is spending managing that process, and the hassle that it's giving them on a day-to-day basis, it really does add up. In fact, most practices, or I guess kind of pooling our customer base, we found that for every 5,000 fax pages, practices are spending as much as $155 in supplies and 55 staff hours. So moving to Updox, becoming a customer, going digital, typically our customers are looking at an annual savings across that manual process of as much as $7,000. So definitely something to consider, even beyond the impact that you would feel on your day-to-day. Combined with some of the other solutions that Updox has to offer, so we're also able to help practices reduce no-shows, get targeted messaging out the door, which have anywhere from $12,000 in no-show costs to $9,000 in targeted messaging costs. The total investment for Updox rolled in with that paperless faxing can be as much as $28,500. Granted, I know that today we're talking about referral management and digital faxing and all of that good stuff, but I did want to kind of give you a full picture as well, so that if you do end up speaking to one of our product experts, it's definitely worth asking if you could drive that ROI number up even higher with our full solution. So how would you get started? Seems great. Sounds like it would really help your day. What do you do from here? We do offer a trial period to all new customers. Since we're not hardware based, it's really easy to get up and running. We have no contract. We do free support. We do free training. And we're a month-to-month service from there. So we're on the hook to keep you happy and staying with us each and every month, which is a definite value add to our customers. If you did want to get started, we'll have our development representatives following up with you after today's event to see if there were any follow-up questions or if you'd be interested in a 10 to 15 minute session with a product expert. It's a great way to get a look at the product because they actually log into Updox and mimic some of the workflows that you would go through based on your conversation on a day-to-day basis inside of the application. They're also able to give you a pricing quote based on the workflows of your practice as well. So a really great opportunity to speak with one of them and kind of learn what Updox is all about inside of 10 to 15 minutes would be a great place to get started. We do have a limited time offer as well, kind of a back to school promotion. I don't know if your all's kids started school again this week. We kind of had one rush last week and then the next rush this week, but Ohio is for the most part back in school today across the state. If you did get started before the end of the month, so August 31st, which I believe is tomorrow, we have our back to school promotion, which is good for 15% off of our base fee for 6 months.